Wherever you are and however you're listening, thank you so much for being back with us on another episode of Winning the Moment. Today, I have Tara Wright with me. And honestly, get some tea, get a drink, some popcorn maybe, and just sit down and relax and go on a ride with us because it is truly a storytelling experience. And we talk a little bit about a 21-day water fast. So if that doesn't percolate your interest, I don't know what will. But this is an episode you do not want to miss. Be sure to stay tuned to the end. Tara gives an answer to the definition of success that no one has ever given, and I think it's quite enlightening. Be sure to like and subscribe, and most importantly, enjoy the episode. Okay, well, welcome back to another episode of Winning the Moment. Today, I have Tara Wright with me, and she is connected to many of the previous guests. So if you're a fan of the show, I'm sure you're going to be a fan of Tara. She's actually Tavish's older sister and a really good friend with Jane. And if you've watched the Parasite Cleanse episode, which if you haven't, please go watch it. She's also done that too. So Tara, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm honored.
Well, and I think my wife and you have hung out a couple of times too.
Yeah, we have. Yes. We actually did our schooling together in 2020.
Oh, you did?
We were part of the group. Yeah.
No way.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Our homeschooling.
So so that homeschool group that Jane put together, right?
Yeah, there was a few of us. Yeah. Jane and Christy and me. And
God, what a crazy thing 2020, looking back on that, it's just that was just so crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And for Liv, my daughter, she was in first grade. So that was her first, would have been her first introduction to real school.
Oh, yeah.
And so losing that really affected her.
Oh, absolutely. I believe it. It was rough.
And Megan thought she could homeschool. And she couldn't,
We tried so hard.
It is hard.
Oh, we tried all these different structures. There was a time when we had different classes. So they would come to my house for art and personal development.
Okay. So do you live out there in Little Valley too, in that same area? Where Jane
I live
was
in
at the time? Okay.
I live right by Crimson. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that was great. At least it gave us somewhere for our kids to go.
Yeah. And some community.
And be with other kids, so that was awesome. Okay. So let's let the audience know who you are. So let's get into a little bit of backstory and feel free to start wherever you want, wherever it feels appropriate.
All right. Well, that's always the hard question, right?
Yeah.
I am from here. I was born and raised in St. George, Utah.
Did you go to Pine View too?
Yeah.
You did. Okay.
Yes, I did. And I don't know, it's hard. It is always hard to know where to start. But yeah, I have, a beautiful family that I was born into. A beautiful family. I have a beautiful family, but I was also born into.
Yes. It's interesting how
it's exceptionally beautiful family.
When you get married and then that becomes the family unit. You're always still family you still have your, where you came from.
Yeah.
But once you have your own spouse and kids, it's that's your unit, know?
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I adore both my families. I'm grateful. So for the family, since who am I? I think the family I was born into really created who I am, a beautiful foundation,
of course.
Right? I am very fortunate to have had a really good childhood. My parents loved each other a lot. I was the only girl. I had 3 brothers, and we were all spaced out.
And you were the oldest, or?
So I have one brother who's older. He's 3 years older. And then Tavish came along 6 years later. And then 8 years after that, my youngest brother came along.
Oh my gosh, what a gap.
We were all spread out.
Your poor parents. That's starting over so many times.
No, I think they loved it.
They did.
I absolutely think they loved it. Yeah. I don't know how well I would do with it, but they seem to love it.
Man, once, because we had my son when Liv was almost 3. And so it was we had just got her potty trained. Yeah. So then it was only 1 in diapers at a time.
Yeah.
And once we had a girl first and then Cash a boy. And as soon as he was healthy, I was that's it for me.
Yeah. Yep. Well, my kids are 6 years. No, they're exactly 5 years apart.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of did. I liked it because my brother, he's the firstborn, and then I'm the first girl 3 years later. So I feel like we both got spoiled on.
That's true.
On.
Yeah, for sure.
And since we're all, and then 6 years later, Tav, so
everyone got their opportunity.
We all got their opportunity to shine and be in the spotlight.
When my daughter's upset or something, my son would be Liv, remember you had 3 years with mom and dad without me.
That's so funny. I love that. And Also, we're able to kind of live our own lives. We had like our own friends. We had just our own.
That's true, because you're not like at the age where they're commingling, and because even now, if Liv brings friends over, Cash like just wants to be with them. But it's like I want her to be able to have her friends and not feel like her little brother's got to tag along.
Right,
you know?
Right. Yeah. So we didn't have that. I grew up in a really cool neighborhood. And everyone in that neighborhood, going back, someone in the neighborhood passed away a few years ago, and going to the funeral, everyone realized like, wow, that was such a magical community.
Where were you guys at when you grew up?
Quell Valley.
Okay,
it's
where's
over
that?
by kind of over by the boulders.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, back behind a few subdivisions behind that. And just we all supported each other. It was a beautiful community. So.
Yeah, St. George does a good job of creating community.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I'm so glad I came here when I did. I moved here before my sophomore year of high school, and we still have our friendships today. Like, last night I was watching the playoff games with all friends of mine from high school.
Oh, wow.
So from 20 years ago, 5 of us,
That's
all still
so
together
cool.
here doing that, like playing pickleball together. And it's like such a blessing to have those friendships that have lasted for so long, you know?
Yeah.
And it's really rare. It's just super fortunate to find
For
something
sure.
like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a beautiful community for sure. So
Okay, well, I got a couple interesting questions I got to talk to you about. So Megan told me before that you had done this fast. Turns out you did a 21-day water fast
yes,
in Costa Rica.
yes.
Tell me all about it. Why did you even do it? What got you to like
What
want
got
to
me to
go to
it?
Costa Rica and do that? And then I got to hear like mentally how that was,
Okay.
because I can only relate it to like my 10-day cleanse, and I'm still having fruit and smoothies and even maybe a pureed soup, and even that is like a mental obstacle. So I can't
Right.
wait to hear all about this.
Okay. I mean, why did I go on a cleanse, on a fast? Gosh, there's a short answer and there's a long answer.
I want the long one. And also, how long ago was this?
This was a year ago. It was last
Oh,
spring.
so it's recent.
Pretty recent.
Yeah.
So I did not know that you could do a 21-day water fast. Like, I didn't know you could go 21
Thought
days
you would
without
die.
food. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally. It was like,
course.
what? And one of my neighbors did it. And so his wife sent out just like, hey, this is my husband's
Yeah.
account if you want to follow along with his fast. And I'm like, what? You can do that? So I followed along on his fast.
Did he go to Costa Rica too?
Yep, I went to the same
place?
center. I went
Okay,
to the
wow.
exact same thing that he went to. And it came at a time in my life where I just felt like my gut like pulled me to it. Like
Interesting.
I had to go do that. I was in a I was struggling in my life. I
Okay.
feel like mentally, I think it was a whole pile up of everything in my life, and so we can just
Kinda
touch
all
on
caught
them
up
and
to
go
you at
back
one
to them
time.
or what. But
Whatever
yeah.
feels right to you.
So I had this I talked about a beautiful childhood, beautiful structure, beautiful
Yeah.
family, and then when I was 17, my family was in a car accident, and I think that
Yeah.
Tavish touched on
Right.
this, right? And it killed my dad. He was 38.
Oh,
My little brother, he was a month away from turning 3. And he was my best little guy. Like, he slept with me at night. Like, we just
Oh,
hung out.
yeah.
Like, I was 14 when he was born, right? And
yeah. So you were kind of like in that parental stage,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
loving and comforting
Yeah,
and helping.
everyone called me a second mom. He
Yeah.
had like my same coloring, like, so he looked a lot like me,
Yeah.
you know. Some
Oh
of us
my
have brown hair,
gosh.
brown eyes, and then I'm like, he had lighter
Yeah.
hair and eyes, you know.
Oh,
So-
that's so devastating.
Yeah, absolutely. That like broke me, I feel like.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
So you lost your dad and your littlest brother.
yes.
Were you in? Because Tavish like was in the other vehicle, so he
Yeah,
saw.
I
it.
have watched the whole thing.
Yeah. Were you there or?
I was in the car accident.
Oh, you were
Yeah,
in the
that's what
car.
these scars are from.
No.
I broke my arm in half, like up here. And,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
So that's even like maybe even more traumatizing because you experienced it. I don't know. What's
I have
worse.
no idea. It's hard
Yeah.
to say because I was in shock. I was in and out
Yeah.
of it. Like I remember bits and pieces of the accident,
Oh.
like of being in the car, like bouncing along in the desert. I remember waking up after in the car still.
Oh my God.
And
Was your mom in the car with you?
yeah, my mom nearly died. She broke like almost everything in her body. She was on life support for a good
Oh
while.
my good man. Good jeez.
Yeah, and so we were traveling with our good friends, like our
Like
family.
neighborhood friends,
yeah,
right?
Yep. And so they were preparing to adopt me and Tav.
Wow, because they didn't think your mom was going to make it.
Yeah. And I lived, when we got released from the hospital, we had 2 of their daughters riding with us. And yeah, Tab was riding with them. And
Did
so
their
they let
daughters
us-
make it?
Yeah, they were okay. We had some broken bones. We all shared a hospital room, the 3 of us. And
What was their ages? So you were 17. How old were they?
I think about roughly 3 years older and 3 years younger.
Okay,
than me.
so the gap.
Uh-huh. And
Do you talk about this much?
not as much anymore.
Yeah.
When I tried to, people told me, just talk about it.
Yeah.
At the time. I think since I was in the car accident and that I was like hospitalized, I was on morphine.
Oh, okay.
So I think I was kind of like numbed out to it.
Sure.
It would kind of hit me in waves.
Yeah.
And then we were in the hospital, I think for like maybe less than a week, and we were able to transport home. We were in Fallon, Nevada in a hospital there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so some people from our neighborhood like transported us all back, and we lived with the Tophams, me and Tavish did, for
Wow.
a little while.
So how long was your mom in the hospital?
Oh, I'm trying to think. About 3 weeks, I think, or so. I'm
And so
not sure.
that whole time you're wondering, like, we may not even have parents anymore.
Yeah, it felt like we didn't. Like,
Yeah.
I felt like since my mom was on life support, like I like her spirit wasn't really here. Like I sensed that my mom's spirit was with my dad and my brother at that time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
And she kind of feels like that too.
how did you
I believe.
did you go through the process of like working on that at the time where you were 17, or did you just suppress it and then it caught up to you as you talked about like?
Yeah. I feel like probably suppressed. I feel like I didn't know how to deal with it.
How would you? Yeah.
Yeah. And now we have a lot more language around
Yeah.
feeling your feelings and healing trauma.
Right.
And
Spaces to do that. Well, and also you were 17 too. So it's like you're not, like, even just your mental capacity is not developed yet.
not at all.
I think they say your frontal lobe isn't fully developed till you're 25.
Yeah.
And I think men and women are different. But so you weren't even like,
Oh,
you didn't have the capacity.
like looking back on it, I used to always say, I feel like I didn't even have a thought in the world. I grew up,
Yeah.
I had good parents, a good family. All my needs were met. Everything was good. So I just went. Like
Yeah.
I just,
That was like your first obstacle in life.
yeah.
And then it's like so
It
massive.
was so massive.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had no idea how to deal with it. I feel like the first year I was maybe like spiritually carried through it. I guess I felt love from the other side. I feel like I
Yeah.
was kind of carried through it, and I was strong. And then it seemed like a year after I was left to face it on my own almost. And
Like when you became an adult, kind of?
Yeah.
Like did you move out for college
I
or
did
something?
not move out at that time. But I feel like it's so rough. I did used painkillers for
Yeah.
my arm,
Uh-huh.
but also, so I was a dancer. I also started dancing when I was 4. I danced all growing up. I was on my high school drill team. So this happened the summer before my senior year. And so,
Oh.
and I had been, I don't know, assigned, whatever. I was the president. Like for my senior year, I was going to be the president of the drill team.
Oh.
And then all of a sudden I'm like I can't do any of the dances. It was really hard, right?
Yeah. So then there's that extra level of depression.
Yeah.
What kind of painkillers were you on?
Oh, I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know.
Oh,
like, I
really?
wasn't really, I mean, probably like Percocet, Lortab.
Okay. So it wasn't like opioids.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't.
So did you ever get
Thank
addicted to
goodness.
them?
I feel like I probably abused them for maybe a couple years.
Yeah.
A couple years after, or like maybe a year or so after, I was having pain because they had they sucked the bone marrow out of my bone and put a rod and a cross screw through it.
Oh my God.
And then that started irritating me, so I got it removed. And so it kind
So
of.
is there a
was
new rod in
pain.
there?
No, there's nothing. I'm hardware free.
No way.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's like you didn't need the rod, or you needed the rod for the bone to calcify?
It was like, so I was given the opportunity to either do that surgery
Yeah.
or to wear a full upper body cast for like 6 weeks. And as a 17-year-old, I was
like no way.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
Right. Like in hindsight, I wish I would have done that.
Sure.
It would have been like let my body heal naturally more.
Yeah.
Right.
At least you got the rot out of you now.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have full mobility with your arm and stuff? Like, are you able
Mostly, you know what? There is a little bit of restriction.
Yeah.
But not too much.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but yeah, so my senior year of high school, I went and talked to, so the family we live next
The Tophams.
to, the Tophams, yes, Marshall. He was the principal or vice principal at my school, at my high school. And so I ended up being one of his aides that year. And so I got to have time with him. And I was debating, like, do I just drop off the team? This is so hard. I'm supposed to be president.
Yeah.
I'm not in any of the dances, you know? And I remember his words, right? Like, he's like, you're sitting on a fence and you can go either way. Like that's okay. If that's the path you want to take, if you want to stop and everyone would understand, or you can push back harder and fight back harder.
Yeah.
You know, so I chose to fight back harder. And I found someone that I could spot, you know, and kind of learn like their part in the routine and kind of dance in the back.
Oh, interesting. Good for you.
Learn what they did. And then I would stay after school and like watch it in the mirror because my arm wasn't like straightening all the way. It wasn't hitting it. So I had to like visually see like, this is what your arm feels like when it's straight.
Wow. Good for you.
Yeah. And I did. I got into all the dance routines
That's
year.
amazing. So do you think that in a sense was therapeutic for you to like have some other outlet to focus on to take your mind off of it?
Absolutely. And the community, that was like that year where I just felt like it probably was a lot that, right?
Yeah.
Like, that it felt like a good year. And then it's the next year I graduate and it's like, life is open to you.
Yeah.
You know, it's
and
like
what did you do with that life?
Man, I struggled a lot. I struggled a whole bunch. My 20s were a really dark place, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you believe because of the incident and just like you trying to work through that?
Yeah, I feel like it's been understanding who I am. I think I am.
That's hard enough without a tragedy at 20 years old.
Yeah,
right?
I think I'm just like like looking back, you know, trying to connect who was I as a child, right?
Yeah.
And it was simple. I was bright. I had this light about me. I feel like everyone just like kind of loved me. I felt like I lit up the world. I really do. I feel like I just received love.
Yeah.
And it was simple and easy. And because of that, I was like really gullible and trusting. And I just believed everything that was fed to me.
Sure.
And I did grow up in the church, right? And so growing up in the church, I don't know, I believed it hook, line, and sinker. Like, or not that it's like, and not that anyone, I love so many
Everyone's
people
entitled to their beliefs,
yeah,
right?
and I can see that, those beliefs serve them. And so I'm happy for them to have their beliefs.
I was going to actually ask, because you said like you felt them spiritually at the time when they had passed. And so do you connect that spiritualness at the time to your church? That
at the time I totally did. I did. But now I don't. Yeah. I guess.
When was your like reconciliation with that? What part of your life did that take place? Was it like more recent, or was it in your 20s?
Gosh, it's really hard to say. I feel like I just believed in the church so much and I wanted to do everything that was right. Like I made sure my family did all the church things and we, you know, paid our tithing and did family home evening and read our scriptures. And like I tried to be very valiant in the church, you know, and I had a lot of leadership roles in the church, like as a teen, I guess, you know, as much as teens can have. And so then during that time in the year after the accident, I would get up and like bear my testimony to
your congregation,
our congregation. And like,
is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Still? Congregation.
Yeah. And so I was like this example, or I don't know, but I feel like I kind of comforted people and they just felt like, oh, Tara's great. She's up here. She's got her head all around it. She understands. She believes everything's okay. Cause I kind of exuded that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what happened a year later.
But a year after that, you just were like,
I just like fell really hard. I feel like I was still in a lot of pain, emotionally, and doing everything that the church said to do wasn't like fixing it.
And you kind of thought that it would, like if I do all of this,
for sure, I thought it would. And so I kind of went away from the church, like for a while.
Yeah.
And then it would go back full swing into it and away.
So you're like a teeter-totter of trying to figure
Yeah.
out who you are, and you're getting pulled in both directions, and then you go down a bad path and you think like, oh, I got to get back to the good path, and never found that balance.
Yeah. And I think I definitely tried to soothe my pain in ways that are like, I was taught were really evil and shaming and damning. And
do you mean like drinking and drugs?
yeah,
Or?
yep, yeah, that stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
And
is that hard for you to talk about?
It depends on who I'm talking to.
Yeah, we're talking to the whole world now.
I know. That's why some people I'm like, woo, like
it's therapeutic though to get it out there.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that I keep like trying to get more is because there's someone who's doing that.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
so when you're in it, oftentimes you feel like, I don't know how to get out of it. And so I think when people come on here and they share their stories, if it ends up in front of that person, then they can be like, oh,
For
Tara
sure.
did it, you know?
Yeah. And that's why I'm willing to share, because I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm a good person. I like have a good heart, and people who get to know me, I like, my feedback is good.
It's
right?
very interesting that because you feel like you've referenced that a couple of times, and I believe that's built on your childhood off of believing who you were supposed to be, and almost like sharing these stories based on what you believed as a kid. Sharing what you're sharing now would mean you couldn't be a good person.
Totally.
Right. And so I can see that struggle
like
now.
It's still in part of me.
100%.
Like, it still is. And so
because even you're not even saying drugs and alcohol.
I know,
right?
drugs
You're
and
just
alcohol.
like,
I'll say sex too.
okay.
Sex too.
Yeah. So you won't like,
I
it was
felt
hard for you
evil, like,
Yeah.
like so shamed, so bad. And so I was literally just torn apart.
Yeah.
As
Well,
who I
even
met
like
was.
Megan, when we started our relationship together and got to that place, it was so hard for her because she also, she went to the church as a kid. And so she was taught it was evil and bad. And so it's like, how can it just not be evil and bad anymore?
Yeah.
But I want to do it. It doesn't
Yeah.
feel evil and bad. So like, it was very much like she struggled with that for a long time.
For sure. And I'm not like, now I'm not afraid to admit, like,
Yeah.
drinking. I'll have some drinks.
Yeah.
Like, and
Right.
people know that. I think.
You're so funny because even now it's like you say it a little bit quieter and you kind of pull back a little bit.
And it's because I'm in this community, and
Yeah.
I feel like the people who listen to this podcast, a lot of them are in this community. But
Yeah.
I feel like people are a lot more open-minded.
Well, I
than
think
we
that
give them
it's
credit for.
equally important for us to have an open mind to what they believe, for them to have an open mind to what we believe. And
Absolutely, because it's crippling. I've been crippled by thinking. That has been what's crippled me.
did you ever leave the community, like because you felt that way? Did you ever like go live somewhere else?
Well, I did, but not for that reason.
Okay.
So I did. I got married when I was 22, and
Did you get married in the church?
so no.
Interesting.
Well, I was. This is my teeter-totter. This is like what rips me apart. So this is actually, it is vulnerable to share this.
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard.
You don't have to.
No, it's okay, because I want.
I can feel it. I can feel that it's like
hard.
it's
right?
a lot. Yeah.
I was, I was trying to be in the church. I don't like, I had went to, this is so crazy. So when I was 20, I was really low, right? I was in probably like my darkest space. And I felt like I was just bringing darkness to the world.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because you felt like you were such a source of light before.
Yeah. And now I'm just bringing darkness. Yeah.
Because you're energetically, you were just like down and depressed.
I was so down and depressed and so dark. And people a lot of times meet me and have a hard time knowing this about me because they think I'm just happy, because I generally.
Yeah. I mean, that's the
smiley,
energy
bubbly.
you exude now for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But I definitely feel like I've earned it. Like I've intentionally went back to who was I as a child? Who am I naturally when I'm safe?
Yeah.
Like,
what's the best version of
What's
Tara?
the best version of me? But in my 20s, I was dark. Like people would not even look at me in the store. Like I feel like they would.
Oh, so your aura was like,
yeah,
don't engage.
Yeah. Yeah. It was rough. And I recognized that it was a hard time. Like I just was struggling with life, like things, losing jobs, like relationships, just hard time. And so I decided to take my life. Like, and I did try to take my life.
Oh, you did?
When I was 20. Yeah.
How did you do that?
Pills.
Oh.
I just tried a whole bunch of pills.
And did you like have to did an ambulance have to come, or did you get him out yourself, or did it just not work? What was the?
I think my older brother and my mom like found me and they took me to the hospital and
Wow.
pumped my stomach. And I remember waking up and throwing up black everywhere. And it felt like the evil that was inside of me. It was the charcoal they used to coat my stomach.
Interesting. Yeah. But it felt like like a euphemism for like, I'm getting this thing out of me.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I think it's important that you share that, because I would say after this is episode 59, so out of 60-ish conversations, oftentimes with strangers in the sense that you and I just met right before we started, right?
Yes.
And so then you're sharing this like very intimate part of your life, and you're not sharing it with me, you're sharing it with anyone who decides to listen.
Yeah.
But one of the most surprising and common themes of my conversations is how often that's happening in people's lives.
Yeah, I've recognized that when I listen to your show.
And that to me was like, whoa, this is terrifying, because like, let's see, we are not even 30 minutes in, and now we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how many people are 30 minutes away from being able to share that, but we don't ever connect that way as humans in a really meaningful way, in a safe space that allows you to feel comfortable in sharing that. And so it makes me feel like, gosh, I got to make sure I'm having these important conversations with people in my life, because I don't want them to ever feel like they can't talk about it, or if they're having those thoughts, if we can get in front of it. And everyone that has shared that story, it, like, even you talking to you now, I would have never thought like, oh, that would be a story that you would share, because you have such a good bubbly positive energy. Yeah. So I wouldn't have ever thought that, Yeah. And so it's like, you can't just assume that someone outwardly who looks put together and happy and bright, that they aren't having those thoughts. And so I think the takeaway for me is, one, it's important to have this platform.
Yes.
It's important for people to hear it, because then you don't have to feel alone. And I don't know that you do feel shame, but I think sometimes people do feel shame from those things. Yeah. And I think it sheds light on the fact that you don't need to feel that, because you are just going through what so many people are going through.
Yeah, it's like a human experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're not the only one,
Right.
but I think if people aren't sharing that, it would be easy to feel like, oh, I don't know why I'm the only one who couldn't do it.
Right.
Could not do it, So did you have reoccurring episodes of that, or was that like...
Oh man, at that point in my life, I felt like a complete failure. I just felt like I failed.
Yeah.
At so many things. I just felt a failure, and I felt like that was another thing I failed at. So I was in a pretty dark place for almost 10 years, or for the following 9 years. And like
So your
had
whole
moments,
20s, honestly,
pretty much my whole 20s
was a constant struggle.
Yeah, I had like moments of happiness,
Yeah.
but overall, like my overall self was really,
What's interesting about moments of happiness is I think everyone only experiences happiness in moments. You can't live in a happy state.
True.
You know what I mean?
It is true. But yeah, I got married.
You may have just had less of them.
Yeah. I got married when I was 22. And so, well, no, actually, okay. So after I tried to take my life, I ended up moving up to Logan, and I went to school up there.
Okay.
And this is a time I'll share this. I got into cannabis.
Okay.
There, and it actually was really soothing and loving, and I found like
it helped
me so much. Like, I did not want to die.
Oh wow.
yeah
That's
like,
great.
I felt really kind, I guess.
Yeah.
So it felt okay. So I like that, but then there's
I was gonna ask, did you still have that feeling of like, I'm doing a really bad thing?
Yeah.
And even marijuana now is so different than that, however long ago that was,
Right.
10 or 15 years, right? Like
20
years.
Yeah, it was 20 years ago.
Then it was like,
plus,
it was still considered like a drug, like other drugs,
For
now
sure.
it's more like drinking.
Totally.
I think, in fact, last night, the group of friends that I was with, I think all of them had an edible of some version. And I was like, damn, you guys just like, that's just a thing you do every day.
Right.
Yeah. But I guess I'll have a beer almost every day. So it's like the same thing.
Right.
And really, that's probably better. Less calories.
Unless you get the munchies.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Exactly.
I'll tell you. That's why I can't do it. Or if I do, I got to have no snacks in the house, because I'll wreck a bag of chips.
Yeah.
Okay, so you found cannabis, and that started to help you.
Yeah, I felt like, because I had, before that, I was having insomnia too, and I would just
That's
be
interesting,
awake all
because
night.
Tavish couldn't sleep either.
Yeah, I would just sit up and listen to music and like watercolor.
Was
draw.
it that like when you tried to go to bed, you would have those flashbacks of the incident, or like get into a dark place when there was like silence?
Yeah. The dark place.
Yeah.
And everything in my life that was hard or sucked or didn't work out, like it was just like there was the accident and then anything else just got tacked onto it, you know?
Yeah.
So it was just like this huge
pile of
weight,
shit.
a whole pile of shit that I was just carrying around.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. So when you went to college to Logan, that's where you met your husband?
No, I came back because my mom's like, you're not doing anything with your life. Come back. I'm bringing you home. And then, this is so funny. I don't know, like the things we share.
Yeah.
But she's like, come, your rent is going to 3 hours to church every week. That was my rent.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So
your mom was a believer.
Oh,
she
for
wanted to
sure.
get you right.
Yeah.
And did you believe at this time, or
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
I didn't. I actually was using cannabis at the time. I would like go smoke a little bit and she would drive me to church and I'd like sit in the back. And I was like zenned out. I was kind of like, it was fine. It was fine, you know.
Did you just not think it served you anymore, or did you get to a place where you're like, oh, I don't actually believe this is true?
I just felt like it wasn't serving me at the time. But then my mom was like, she found it. And I had smoked cigarettes at that time in my life too.
Oh, interesting.
So she was like, you seem like you're doing so good. So I thought maybe you stopped smoking cigarettes. So I went through your purse and I found pot. Like she was so mad. She said, that is a legal substance. You cannot bring this into my house. And so I'm like, okay. And it was so funny. So that day I just got rid of it all. And I'm like, okay, I am just gung-ho going back into this church thing.
Yeah.
And I just set myself up with like a church related activity every day of the week.
Yeah.
Almost to keep me busy. And I was like, gonna be saved this time, I guess. I don't know. Right? Like I was
You're gonna be righteous.
Determined to do it.
Yeah.
And I was actually preparing to go on a mission. And
wow.
I met my first husband that summer. So I've been married. So this is my life.
Let's do it. I love it. It's so fun for me I get to know people in such a different way because you meet people all the time, right? Like even so, the episode that came out on Wednesday was Nicole Younger's, and her story like blew my mind. Did you listen to it by chance? Okay, so you got it is like whoa, and I had no idea, and I'd like hung out with her before, and like I was like, oh, I know Nicole. I did not know Nicole.
Oh, okay.
You know, like, and so that's what I love about this is after this I do know you. You know, like
for sure.
As
that's
well
when
as
I met you, I'm like, oh, here where you are.
As well as anyone in your life does. You know, like I'm gonna get all the stories, and I think it's so awesome.
Yeah. So, well, I love it. I'm happy to share it too because I feel like
there's many people who are having the same trials and tribulations or similar.
Yeah, I
that
feel like
you may
I've
be able to be a guide.
So many of them. I feel like I've struggled a lot.
Well, that's what people connect with more, anyways.
Yeah.
Like if someone came on, like, everything in my life was awesome, and here's the history of my awesomeness. No one's listening to the end of that story.
Oh yeah,
because they're just like, whatever, dude.
Totally.
Like they can't relate. We all struggle. So when someone's struggling, it's like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I connect with that. You know, so I think it's way more impactful, more powerful when people are willing to share the good and the bad.
Right. So I met my first husband that summer, like before when I was getting ready.
In the church activity type stuff?
No, I didn't. I can't think of how I met him. Actually, I don't remember. I think just through some friends.
Okay.
And so we dated that summer, and he was just here for the summer break. He was doing school in St. Louis.
Okay.
And I was preparing for my mission, you know.
Was he LDS?
So he wasn't raised LDS. He had got like baptized like when he was 18. And at that time, I think he wasn't practicing.
Okay.
But that summer he was just like, because in college he'd gotten into partying, and he was like, oh, I don't want that to rule my life. I want to know I have control over this.
Yeah.
So during that summer, he was just refraining from all of it.
Being good.
Yes. Yes.
So you're both trying to be good together.
We're both trying to be good together.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then the night before I went to hand in my mission papers, I mean, we had a romantic night out in the desert under the stars. Whoops. Change of plans, right? Like life. Shift.
And you were like, shoot, I can't go now.
Yeah, basically.
Like I broke the...
Yeah.
And you didn't want to wait again, like, because you could have like taken 6 months or whatever and repented.
But we felt... like it felt magical.
Yeah.
It felt like we loved each other.
Yeah.
He almost was like, I don't want to go back to school. But then he's like, I have to.
Felt like you did? Do you not think you did now looking back on it?
Oh, no, it was. It was a magical time.
Yeah.
Absolutely it was. And So anyways, he proposed to me before he left back to do another semester. And then we got engaged over that winter break. Or no, we didn't get engaged. We got engaged before and we got married over the winter break.
Did you move with him to St. Louis
And
then?
then I moved with him to St. Louis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And how long did that marriage last?
A year and a half.
Okay.
So a year.
This is in your 20s?
Yeah. Yeah. I was 22 when we got married. And on our 1-year anniversary, we did go through the temple.
Oh, interesting.
I know. So I was really trying really hard.
Yeah.
I was still trying.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I was still just gullible to all the things like Disney's like get married and live happily ever after. Oh, I can just get married.
It'll fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it'll fill a void that you had.
Yeah. Yes. And still trying to just do everything right by the church. Like I was still, but I was still struggling too.
Were you doing marijuana at the time?
No.
Okay.
Anytime I was like into the church,
you weren't doing it.
I was
Okay.
not.
You were
yeah.
following the rules.
Following the rules of the church.
But just mentally still not at a good spot.
Yeah, I guess so. When we lived in St. Louis, it was pretty good. Like it was a fun time. I love it. It's a good memory of my life.
Yeah.
I liked living in St. Louis. But it was a few weeks before we moved back, just something shifted in our relationship. I don't really need to get into it, but it just like kind of changed in a day. I don't really know what happened.
Interesting.
It was really weird, and we didn't communicate. Like we moved back to St. George for the summer, but it was off. And
Interesting.
He wanted to get divorced, and I was like, we can't just get divorced. Like we've had a good marriage, and it's just been rough these few months. Like we got to work through it, right?
Yeah.
And so then he decided, okay, we can do that. But he graduated at his university in St. Louis and got a job in Rochester, New York. So at a school, he went to like a grad school, and it was just like a good, you get paid to go to school too.
Oh,
right?
wow.
He was very smart.
Yeah. So that was a good career move for him.
Yeah, it was a good career move. So then I ended up moving out with him to Rochester, New York, too, for like 6 months, but it was rough. It was really hard. And so that's when it was really rough.
Because then you felt like it felt like another failure. Like here's another thing I can't do.
Yeah. Yeah. And so yeah, that was just a hard time. So that marriage went away. And then, so that's a big failure.
Do you still feel like it's a failure today?
No, I feel like I understand. At least my role in it, which is all you can do.
That's all you can control is yourself.
Yeah. And so I'm like, well, I was really freaking sad, and I had no idea how broken I was.
That'd be hard to be with someone who's so sad.
Yeah. And I didn't know it because I feel like I'm this bright, cheerful, happy person. So I would just keep trying to be that.
Yeah.
Without addressing the aches.
Without working on anything.
Yeah.
Interesting. So then did you come back to St. George, obviously?
Yeah, I came back to St. George, and
even then, because even that long ago, it was probably even less acceptable and probably more like, oh, you're not supposed to get divorced in the church. Like, even more
it was
pressure
actually my bishop there. I went and talked to my bishop in New York and told him our woes, and he's like, it sounds like you need to leave. Like you should go. Like he recommended it, and I was like, thank you.
Like you needed permission almost.
Yeah, I needed the permission.
Wow, that's interesting.
For sure, I needed the permission.
Good for that bishop.
I know.
Good for him.
Yeah, so great.
Because it'd be so easy to be like, no, like this is the commitment you made. You're tied together in the temple.
And a lot of people in religions do that. No, and there are some great people
of course.
in the church. Of
Absolutely.
course they are. We know. We live with them, right?
Yeah.
So,
that's great.
Yeah. So that was really good. I feel like I kind of like, I didn't ever get back into the church. I remember I took off my garments one day and it felt right. For some reason, it just felt right. But then I feel like I also abandoned God because the only like God
that was your connection to God.
Yeah, it was a Mormon God.
Yeah,
with all these judgments, like really harsh judgments. The way
Yeah, no, that's harsh. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, even for me as like a because when I was in high school and I graduated in 2005. So at that time, it was even way more predominant LDS in St. George than it is today.
Way more,
right? Like complete. Like we don't even have a church in my neighborhood. Wow. That's how different it is.
Yeah,
you know,
different.
And like my kids. My kids have gone through the baptism age of 8, or my son's 7, so he's about to do that. And my daughter's 10, and I was worried as like when I was in high school, like, man, that'd be hard for my kids at 8 to have their friends be like, well, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing this? You know, never even happened. It was never a topic of conversation because in Desert Color, I feel like it's such a melting pot of people moving from different places.
Oh yeah.
So they're all different religions, so I don't even think my kids are cognizant or aware of the fact that there's like a predominant religion in the area. They
Which
don't
is
even
amazing.
know
That's
as it should
amazing.
be, right?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
they just have friends of all different types of beliefs, which is
Yes.
wonderful.
I love that.
But even I can remember like girls' parents didn't want me to take them to dances or for them to hang out with me only because of the fact that I wasn't a part of the church. Had nothing to do with who I was as a person. And so that was like, oh, this is crazy, you know? But I feel like we've progressed so far.
We have really
since
progressed
then,
so far. Yeah.
You know, like I don't feel like that would be an issue today.
Right.
Which I think is great.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so then to catch us back up, so now you're in what, the middle of your 20s, like 25, 26. You've let go of the garments.
Yep. And just living life. I went back to school.
Did you want to find a God? Did you feel like you needed to replace that void, or did you feel like you just didn't want that anymore?
A God. I just felt like I knew I made the right choice. I think I was conflicted because of, you know, growing up in the church, what you hear, Cain and Abel had hard hearts and closed minds, you know. Or
I don't know.
Oh, that's what I was taught. And so
Okay.
I felt like, wait, I feel like I opened my heart and my mind.
Yeah.
So I just
then you're
kinda
like, what the hell?
So I knew I made the right choice.
Yeah.
I guess. I knew I made the right choice for me, but I didn't really know how to be in sync with like a higher power, I guess.
Have you filled that void now, or what do you believe now?
Oh, I don't know. I like to keep my beliefs open because I think it's all just, I think once you set your belief on something, then it narrows everything out.
For sure. Absolutely.
Right?
Do you go to a church or anything?
No,
You
I go
don't?
to yoga, slow flow every Sunday.
That's great. I wonder because even for me, there's times of like, shit, you know, like, should I be taking my kids somewhere? You know, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like I do have this sense of like, I need something, but I don't know what that something is.
Right.
And I don't want to necessarily choose something.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to your point, to say, well, I picked this thing, so all those other things are off the table.
Yeah.
It's like, I just want to, it's like I want a buffet.
Right.
Give
Like
me a little bit
I've
of all,
always
of it
asked
all.
my kids if they want to go to church, you know,
Yeah.
like it would be easier to be like friends with everyone that we live around because they all go to church, you know, they might trust us more.
Yeah.
Like, be like, okay, we know these people.
Yeah.
Right. But they have not expressed a desire. They're like,
Yeah. What
"No,
kid
I
really
do not
wants to
want
go if they don't have to, you know?
I know. Yeah.
And because you were a kid, it was 3 hours.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, it was rough. I took my son to a baptism of his friend last Saturday. He expressed interest, and he was like,
Is your son 8?
he's 10.
10, okay.
Yeah, and so he wants to just wear soccer clothes. He's a soccer player. He just wants to wear like soccer kits all day, every day,
Yeah.
you know? And so I'm like, well, let's dress a little nicer. Here we have stuff that's like kind of nicer, but still like silky.
Yeah.
He has like a silky polo shirt with
Yeah,
a few
yeah.
buttons. And he's like, I cannot wear this on. I'm like, I cannot. I'm like, dude, I had to wear that. Like, we had to wear stuff like that for 3 hours.
And it wasn't silky and
And
nice. It
wasn't-
was like stiff and
Yeah.
cottony.
Yeah. So funny.
Okay, so then when did you, like, so if you were 25, when did you find, obviously you're married now, right?
Yeah, and my life is crazy. Like I really need to probably write a life story, like a book, but there's so much.
Well, at least now you got some of it recorded.
I know, right? I can just feed that.
Yeah,
Here's my
exactly.
life
Give it to
story.
ChatGPT and say, make a story out of this.
Yeah. So then when I was 27, I actually had a good year. Like that's when life started shifting for me. I had a boyfriend after my ex-husband that was pretty serious, and I broke up with him, and I moved to Cedar City with one of my best friends. And it was just fun. We went to concerts like all the time.
Yeah.
We went to The Price is Right with Bob Barker. Like it was just a
Did you
good
make it on
year.
the,
No, we didn't, but it was fun. Anyways, and then that year I ended up getting pregnant.
Oh, okay.
With my daughter, and I was not married.
Okay. Was that
Yeah.
tough for you? Did it not feel the same because you had removed yourself?
Oh, I still had a lot of the guilt.
You did.
I'm trying to think. Tavish, my brother, he had just got off his mission, so he was still. My family was all very
they
in
were
the
in it.
church, and I was like, I can't believe I'm pregnant.
Obviously, you don't think your daughter's a failure, but in that moment of being pregnant out of wedlock, did you feel like that was another failure added onto the pile?
Yeah, I was really ashamed to tell them, but I feel like I did. I feel like I told my mom like the same day or something.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm sure.
like you know, and man, my daughter was my biggest blessing.
Yeah.
Like at that time in my life, because I remember feeling like right before she was born, I like shifted, and I am like, I am over all this shit I've been carrying around for 10 years. Like, I don't want to carry it.
Really interesting. You got pregnant as soon as you were released all that trauma.
Yeah. I'm
right?
like, I'm sick of worrying about me. Like, I want to worry about someone else and something else. Like, I want to take care of something. Like, I'm over this.
Very interesting.
Yeah. And then it was like right after that, I got
Not
pregnant.
surprising though.
I know.
Right? Like your body was finally energetically ready to like have a good thing.
Yeah. And so my daughter was the first time I got to like, in 10 years that I felt like I got to learn and grow through like love and positivity.
Yeah. Well, and if you had that special relationship with your little brother too, then you got that again, you know, like that connection.
Yes, for sure. So, so that was great. I was not married to her dad. We didn't really have a good relationship actually until he met her like 2 hours after she was born and like recognized her, like his family and him, you know, and he was hooked and he was in love with her.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So do you guys still have a good relationship?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have a good
How old's your daughter
relationship.
now?
She's turning 16 next month.
Oh man, crazy.
I know.
Is she going to get her license on her birthday or does she not care? What's up with that?
That's a whole other.
I was at the DMV
podcast.
like waiting for the doors to open.
Oh, me too.
You know?
I couldn't wait.
Then I went and raced my friends as soon as I got my license.
Yeah. I could not wait to get
Yeah,
my
it was like the
license.
greatest thing in the world.
Freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. So yeah, my daughter is she might be a whole other podcast. I don't know. Like, I love her.
Did you split custody with her and her dad?
So we did, like, I mean, she was with me at first, right?
Yeah.
And then we got married when she was, I think, 1.5 years.
Married to her dad?
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay.
We did get married because, I don't know,
felt like the right thing to do.
Yeah, we both loved her. And we wanted to spend our time with each other. And we got along.
Yeah.
We just didn't have the chemistry. Like, we really didn't have chemistry.
You're just like partners.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long did that marriage last?
About 1.5 years.
Okay.
I know, I'm on a roll here. So failure number 2, right? Another big, like I'm telling you.
How was your separation? Was it amicable and it was just like you both understood? Like
it was. I just knew I needed to. So I scheduled an appointment with our counselor. All right. Like we had a counselor that we had seen a few times and she's like, I don't even know how to help you guys. Cause usually it's like, you're in love, you have this chemistry, then you like fall apart, and then you just coming back to that. I don't know what I'm bringing you back to because you never had anything to start. You know? So when I realized I wanted to divorce, we scheduled an appointment, and I told him in front of the counselor. Like I broke it there.
And like you just felt like you needed a third party.
I felt like I did. Yeah. Because I felt like he had struggled in his life, just the things that have happened in his life at that time.
Okay.
That he would feel like a failure.
Yeah. And you didn't want to burden him because you know what that feels like.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So I was really grateful for that choice so she could help break the news and help him understand that it's a good choice.
Yeah. And how do you take it?
I think okay. Like it was okay. She's like, you guys don't have to like go home and be like, all right, pack up everything and split houses, you know, just have different rooms in the house.
Start the process.
Start building yourself up to like be able to both be on your own.
Okay.
So we started that process and we did it over like 4 to 6 months, I think.
Okay. I mean, that sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's great. And we have my daughter actually has lived with him this whole last year in Oregon. He moved to Oregon.
Oh, wow.
It's like 7 years ago, I think, 6. I don't know. Time.
Okay.
Right. And so she would spend some time in the summer with him.
Yeah.
Every summer.
Is that hard having her being gone?
Yeah. Well, so this is my daughter. She's such a bright light. She always has been. But COVID also like knocked her hard. Yeah. It knocked her
I couldn't imagine being at that like a high school age and having that happen because like so much of like your life experiences got taken away.
Totally.
Especially like seniors.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know how it is because you were like ready to be the drill captain and like take the world by storm. And then you kind of lost that opportunity or thought you were going to.
Yeah.
Like if you were a senior in high school and then you didn't get that, like that is like literally the greatest year of your life because it's like no responsibilities, ultimate freedom, connection with all of your friends, you know, and like the future is ahead of you and it's very exciting. Yeah. We don't have to have any responsibilities about that exciting future yet, you know?
Right.
So losing that, being in high school for that, I think would have just been terrible.
Yeah. Super hard. So she struggled because before that she was like really good at making friends and social. And then after that, it was hard and uncomfortable and awkward. And so she has struggled with mental health, my own daughter, and it's been hard. And I'm so sympathetic to it.
You understand it.
Yeah. That I'll be like, I'm her soft landing place, but sometimes I feel like she just needed some push.
She needed to change the scenery.
Yeah.
Has it been good for her?
Yeah, I think it was really good for her, but she is moving back.
Are you so excited about that?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, at the end of this month. So
That's awesome.
I'm excited. She learned so much, and she got to have that time with her dad and
that's
him
cool.
love on her and take care of her.
And Oregon's another beautiful state.
So beautiful.
Yeah, an amazing place.
Yeah. Yeah, so she got to process a whole bunch. And
That's great.
just understand. So I'm excited for her to come back.
And so she'll be, going into her junior year?
Yeah.
That's fine. And what high school does she go to?
She'll go to Crimson.
Crimson. Okay.
Yeah.
That's such a nice school.
I
Went there for
know.
like a dance thing. It's like, God, these high schools are crazy now.
I know.
It's unbelievable.
It is. I know.
Okay. So then did you get married again?
Yeah. So
You did,
after
okay.
her and after we separate at the end of our separation, I had a friend introduce me to my current husband.
Okay.
She's like, "Do you want to go on a date?" And I was like, "Say yes." It was just like this inner you gotta say yes to this. You'll just stay like this forever. Like you have to say yes, right? So I went out and I met him, and it was like a group date, and it was fine. Like we got along.
Yeah.
But then we hung out like a week later, and we had chemistry and really liked each other. And then it just,
How long have you been with that husband now?
So we've been together for like 12 years.
Okay, you're way past
Ever
the year
since
and a
then.
half.
Yeah,
All
way
right.
past. Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
finally did it.
And so you have a son with him then?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have a daughter and a son.
Yeah, I have a daughter and a son. Yeah, my son's 10.
So then we started this conversation because of that 21-day water fast.
Wow.
Yeah, right?
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is like a whole
Yeah.
mountain of me just trying to make it in the world and do what's right and not hurt and feel better.
Yeah.
And I've had some good joys. I love, oh man. And I'm grateful. So I did with my kids and my current husband. And I love my ex-husbands too. I'll say that. I don't have any.
That's great.
Yeah.
What a great place to be. So then so as you're going into out of your 20s, it's still a battle. You're still fighting it.
Off and on, I guess, it was better with my daughter, once she got there, but then it was still probably a lot of pressure on her. I realized she was my biggest
you were
joy.
Make me feel better, make me happy.
Life. Yeah. And so then let's see, I've worked with people with disabilities a lot in my life. I love doing that. It's caring, nurturing.
Yeah.
It's fun. I don't know. I like it. It's rewarding. It's
mental
hard.
or physical disabilities?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Mostly mental.
Okay.
Well, right now I'm on call. I take care of a guy with a whole bunch of physical disabilities.
Oh, really?
But I don't work with him. I'm just on call. So
If
it's not
needs
very
you,
often. Yeah.
Then you're there.
Yeah.
So then your neighbor goes to this 21-day water fast and you're watching it and you just feel like this is something I need.
Yes. So I have to preface this a little bit more. I decided to stop I was doing the same thing at work as I was at home. And so I decided to change my career and I went back to school.
What do you mean by that? The same thing at work as you were at home?
Just caretaking.
Oh, got it.
I just caretaking, bathing, feeding, cleaning.
Okay. And you were like, I need something different.
I need something different.
Yeah.
So I'm I need to grow in a different way. So I went back to school and I decided I would do accounting. But after one semester of accounting, I switched to finance. It sounded more fun.
Yeah.
And more, I don't know, challenging. I wouldn't get bored of it.
Yeah.
So I studied finance and I loved it. I excelled. I did really good in my program and I got hired on by a company in town.
Yeah.
Soltis Investment Advisors.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I worked with them for I interned with them and then I got hired on and I was their trader for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
How cool.
And I loved it. I loved the company. I loved the people. But I almost immediately within the first 6 weeks almost, I knew it was so hard on me, on my physical body, on my brain to be sitting at a computer.
Yeah, that's tough.
It was really hard. And I know that a lot of people do it. And then that was another thing I beat myself up for. All these people do it. Why can't I do it? You know?
It's not great though.
It was hard. And it was a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. I gained 60 pounds in 60 years.
Wow.
I just consistently gained 10 pounds a year.
When you're sentient, is that the right word?
Sedentary.
Yeah, you're just sitting there.
And I tried not to be. I still would get up and go to yoga or something in the morning, Pilates at 6 a.m. I was still trying to.
Yeah.
be
But still, you're
active and do other
spending
things.
8 hours just sitting there. That's tough.
Yeah. And just getting, I don't know. And then getting home and having my whole life and feeling like, man, I can't even take care of my kids. They're like the one thing,
Yeah.
my family is the one thing I care about. Like I
Right.
love them. So actually in 2020, I wanted to quit, but we had just bought a house.
Life.
Life.
Yeah.
So much. So like I was still trading on the stock market. It closes at 2 here, luckily.
Yeah.
So, and then that's when I would try to homeschool my kids when the stock market closed.
Wow. How fascinating.
So needless to say, I burnt myself
Yeah.
out like so badly.
And that's so not what life is. Like, because then you are just like, you're a prisoner of the own life, of the life you created, you know, where it's like,
Yeah.
I have to do this thing because I have this other thing. And it's like, you've almost given up control.
Totally. Yeah. So I ended up I tried so hard to make it work and to take care of my energy and like meditate and just take care of myself. But it was so hard. So finally I convinced my husband to let me quit work. I was like, I need to let him, but he just needs to see the value in it.
Yeah.
If I can show him the value in it,
Yeah.
he'll be on board with it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think, it would have been in 2022 in August. I we went to California. My brother Tab was living out there and I made the choice. Like, all right, I got to quit.
Yeah.
And so I did. I put my notice into Soltis, but I gave him like to the end of the year notice. Cause at this point I had a lot of the operations like
In your head.
my head.
Yeah. Right.
I'm like, we need to find someone
Right.
really good.
Good for you for doing that.
Yeah. So I worked out the rest of the year. So I quit at the end of December.
Of 2022?
Of 2023. Oh, no, 2022. Yeah.
Okay.
December of 2022, I worked. And it was like a few months before that. So I had already known I was quitting. That's when I heard about the fast.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like,
I was just kind of like, this is a perfect, like I'm ending this part of my life. Like I have the ability and the time to go do this now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And it just pulled me. It was just that one thing. Like I felt like I have been at life just be like, I'll do good. I'll do all these things and then just crash and burn. And it was so hard. I'm like, I can't just keep doing this in life. Like I have to figure out like what the hell is going on inside of me.
I think that's good too for listeners because like, I think especially the younger audience that I engage with in colleges or things like that, they think like, oh, I got to just figure it out. It's like, well, it's a long ass journey, you know? And I don't know that you ever do figure it out. You just figure out pieces and you just like, it's just like constantly building and navigating.
And how boring would life be if you had it all figured out?
Yeah, it'd suck.
So
It'd be a
boring.
shitty story.
Like, meh.
No one wants to read that book.
So that's one comforting thing I find. I was like, hey, I have a lot to figure out. So I have a lot of life to live.
How much does it cost to do a 21-day water fast in Costa Rica?
It was, I think it was $3,700 for the fast and then the flight. So probably like
that's not bad.
Not bad at all. I'm like, I felt like I was so toxic inside of my body and my mind, like the brain fog, just like the inflammation. I was like not enjoying life. I was not enjoying getting out of bed in the morning.
And
life was so hard.
And what's the point if you're not? You know what I mean?
Me and my husband, our marriage was on the rocks. Like it was not doing good.
Right.
I felt like I couldn't be there for my kids. you know, like what do I really care about?
So interesting how we make decisions in life that put us in that place.
Totally. And you think you're doing good.
I know.
Like you think you're making all the
That's
best
why
choices.
I think it's so important to define success for yourself because otherwise you can end up going down a path and looking back and be like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
You know, like, and now you got to get up and go to that thing because you made other decisions based on that thing. And it's like, you should be really careful. It's so easy to slip into that.
Totally.
And then it's like, how do you even unwind it?
Right. And I needed some serious unwinding.
Yeah.
So, I found out in like October, I think in October is when he did the fast. And so that's when I followed it. And it was just, I would dream about it. I'd fantasize. I felt excited, like really compelled to do this. My husband was like, not a fan of me leaving for a month.
Yeah.
You know, he's
that's
like,
what's a lot. It's $5,000 plus you're going to be gone for a month. It's like,
And I'm like, I literally feel like I'm like on the brink of death. Like I am going to like fall into like serious unhealth, which I would be, who knows how much of my life and of my money that could take. But if I can invest $5,000 in 1 month of my life into like
small price to pay.
That sounds really good. and
Yeah.
I wanted to do it, you know? And so I talked him into it.
Yeah,
Like, I
convinced
just
is a good word.
convinced, I guess. Let him know, like, I got to do this on, like, it was New Year's Eve. And I was like, tomorrow's New Year's Day and I want to sign up for this fast. Like, that's what I'm doing. So I did. So he's like, all right, it sounds like you're doing it.
Yeah.
You know, like, I will not forgive myself if I don't do this fast. I have to.
So what time of the year did you do it? You signed up in January. When did you actually go?
March 25th.
Okay.
Through April. Yeah, 22nd.
What was that like, 21 days with just water and thoughts and time?
Oh, it was so good.
Did they have activities throughout the day to like keep your mind busy, or are you self-directed?
Okay, yeah, it's pretty self-directed. You basically, the concept is if a animal is injured in the wilderness, it rests and fasts. It just lays down, it closes its eyes, it fasts, and it heals. So that was
interesting.
The thing.
I know for me, if I'm sick, all I have to do is just sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep. And eventually, and then I'll be fine. It might take more sleep or less sleep, but that's the key for me. Like if I can just sleep.
Yeah. So he ultimately, the director wanted us to lay with our eyes closed, because even having your eyes open, you're energetically expending so much energy. And it was all supposed to go towards healing the body.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
you just laid there with your eyes closed.
Yeah, and took a sip of water every minute. We were supposed to just take a little sip of water every minute to just not, because you're there 21 days without food.
Yeah. So it's like, are you just like training your mind to know, like, don't worry, I'm nourishing you consistently.
You don't want to flush out the electrolytes is what you want.
Okay.
You didn't want to just have a huge chug to flush it out. You just kind of wanted it to be a bit to absorb.
Oh, did you try and get a big sip in?
Not too much. Like, I mean, I really was okay with the small sips.
I feel like
so they wanted us to have they did it in liters. So I don't know.
And is everyone there doing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So leading up to the fast, like as soon as I got my husband on board, I'm like, oh shit, what did I do? Now I have to go do the thing,
right.
And then all of a sudden the fear sets in, and it was scary.
Yeah.
Like it was.
Well, and it's like, God, I just paid $5,000, so it's like I can't not do it. And I told my husband I want this thing. And
I knew I had to. I knew I couldn't live with myself, because it was one of the strongest, if not the strongest calling I've had in my life.
Interesting.
To go do that fast. And it was scary. Like the concept, the idea of 21 days without food, it was like, it racked my mind and my gut. It was just like this black fear. Like I was so afraid.
It's interesting because I realized in doing the cleanse with Aaron how food is so emotional for me.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like it's like chicken noodle soup feels like love to me.
Yes.
Yes. And so it's like eating love. Yeah. And so I'll just eat it and eat it, and like there's times when I'll have like a craving, but it's like I want pasta because that just feels like happiness, and it's not even that like I'm not hungry or maybe even hungry at all, but it's like it it makes me happy, I
totally get it. Yeah. So it was really scary for me, but I was like, I'll just find out, I had to mentally prep myself.
Yeah. Was everyone there? Were you all starting that 21 days together, or were there people in different stages?
There were people in different stages. They actually do a 41 or 42-day fast, a 42-day fast.
Or is anyone working when they're there, or is it okay?
There are workers there.
No. I mean, like, did you ever get out your laptop and do any work, or was it like all focused on healing?
A few people did.
They did.
I personally was like, I just want a detox of everything. Like I'm not bringing books. I'm not going to listen to music, or I'm not going to listen to anything.
Oh, damn.
I don't want any new information. I just want.
So you literally just laid there.
I just wanted to get to the core of Tara.
Wow. Yeah. What did you take away from it?
It was really good. I love myself.
What was the hardest part?
I think it's just kind of uncomfortable, right? It's
yeah.
Like I don't know, all your senses are heightened. So like sounds and smells, you're just like, ugh.
Did you eat in Costa Rica before coming back home?
Yeah. So you do a week of refeeding, and they just eat, like their whole philosophy is that you should only eat whole organic fruits, period.
Yeah.
Like nothing else for the rest of your life. That's what they teach.
Yeah.
And so that's what we refed on.
was just fruit.
Oh, it was so good.
I bet it felt
It's
so.
so hydrating.
What was the first thing you ate?
Watermelon.
Oh, I bet that was wonderful.
Yeah.
Like the best watermelon you've
Oh,
ever
it's
had.
so juicy. Yeah.
What was the
so
first
good.
real food you ate? Like when you got, like, did you get to the airport and get something? Or
Actually, so this is so funny. We were supposed to continue at least for 6 weeks to continue eating fruit when we got home.
Oh.
And everyone's like, are you going to do that? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just here for this. Like, I'm just here for this. I don't know what I'm going to do. Probably not. No, when I got into my room, I ordered it was like butternut squash soup or something.
because you felt like that was like, just pureed stuff.
Yeah, it was still kind of okay.
Not going to be tough on your digestive tract.
Yeah, but I got back into eating food.
What was like? Was there something that you looked forward to of like real food, and you got back home and you're like, okay, I'm getting in and out.
Eggs, I wanted like eggs and toast.
Interesting.
Funny, huh?
Yeah, it was interesting too because even doing the cleanse with Aaron, my cravings were different than I thought they would be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't like I was like, I want a Domino's pizza. Like I actually wanted good food.
Yeah.
Not, but I assumed I would want like, give me the shit,
Right.
In and out or Domino's or
yeah.
give me the chemicals.
Yeah. Yep.
What did my wife say the other day? Oh, Pringles don't have potatoes in them.
Serious?
Yeah. So it's like, it's just like a
What are you
bunch of
eating?
shit zapped together,
Oh my gosh.
And they make it taste so good.
Yes, they do.
Bastards.
It's so rough, huh?
Gosh, everything that tastes so good is just not good for you.
No. Well, I don't know. Those mangoes I had.
Yeah, fruit is obviously.
I don't think there's anything.
I found a real
top that.
appreciation for fruit and doing the cleanse with Aaron.
Yeah.
And realize like how I can have a bowl of all this different fruit and be completely satiated and full and,
Yeah.
and enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure.
Was the cleanse with Aaron easy? Did you do after?
I did it after. It was still hard. So the whole idea of the fast is to hydrate. We're supposed to drink like 11 liters of water. I can't calculate that.
Okay. I know that there's one thing that says you should drink half your body weight in ounces of water.
Yeah. So they wanted us to have a lot of water to hydrate the mucoid plaque in our I can't think of what
in our body somewhere.
Yeah, our colon. I don't know, like in our body. And I got sick on like day 18 of the fast to where I could not tolerate the water. Like I would have like a sip of it and I would just start throwing up bile.
So your body was rejecting the water.
Yeah, I was probably like at a higher level of detox. Honestly, I probably should have just welcomed it,
right,
and just kept drinking it and throwing up. But and maybe I would have moved through it sooner. But it was rough, so I ended up getting really dehydrated at the end of my fast.
Interesting.
So the fruit was super wonderful to
like
me.
You needed
it was a lifesaver. Yeah, for sure.
What was your what would you say your biggest takeaway was? Like if there was like an aha moment or like this thing, what would you say that was from doing something like that?
I think for me it was day 17 of the fast. I posted reels every day while I was on
you
fast,
did
just to share my story.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I remember on day 17, I was like, oh my gosh, day 17, I'm so excited. For some reason, I was so excited and be like, I still feel so good. I can't believe I feel so good. I like had good energy.
Yeah.
I was like clear,
Yeah.
So I was really happy about that. I was excited to go record my reel.
Yeah.
Like every morning we did have to meet up for check-ins and that could take the whole morning pretty much.
Okay.
So there was that.
Yeah.
So that did take up some of your time. And they did have meditations 4 nights a week.
Okay.
So they did have a few things.
But a majority of your time was up to you.
Yeah. And what was I saying?
Day 17, you're so excited.
Day 17, I was so excited. And then all of a sudden it like hit me. I'm like, why am I so excited for day 17? And you're fasting, you're in this place. And all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I was so excited my whole life to turn 17. And then like 3 weeks into my turning 17 was my car accident. And all of a sudden I got gripped with this fear, like, what if my family dies today? And I started thinking,
got into a spiral.
What if there's a school shooting?
Yeah.
What if there's a car accident? Or what if, And I was like, I can't post my reel today until I know that everyone lives through the day.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it like really hit me. And I went back to my room after my check-in and I had a roommate and she didn't come back in for a couple hours. So I was allowed this time to like go in deep and really process that pain and feel it and just cry about it and be like, you know what, if someone in my family dies, if I lose my son or my daughter or my husband, it's okay. Yeah. They'll still be in my life because my dad and my brother are still in my life. You know?
Wow, it's interesting because obviously you've got that trauma to heal, and that was like the catalyst to allow you to process.
And it was like death is inevitable.
Yeah.
It's part of life.
Right.
Living in fear isn't going to stop it from happening.
Right.
It's going to happen anyways. And so in that moment, my body, like right in my root chakra at the base, this muscle just went, it just released. Like, I think since the accident, I have probably been in this tense fear.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. What an amazing, that was a great answer.
Thank you. Yeah. So no, that was really fantastic.
Would you ever do it again? Or do you feel like that wouldn't serve you anymore because you got what you needed out of it?
I do feel like I got what I needed out of it, but I'm not like against doing it again.
Yeah.
Because I lost weight and I liked that.
What's amazing is I'm processing what you just told me. You're probably absolutely right that you were so like clenched, and that's why you were so called to it, because like your subconscious knew like this is what I need to finally release all that built up.
For sure.
Pressure.
Yeah.
How interesting.
Yeah. And then on day 21, I had another really beautiful experience of just going into the post trauma, like all the trauma experience post that, and like making peace
with all
that
other failures.
Yeah.
Wow.
And peace with my mom and peace with Tab. I saw like I could share with him. I'm like, dude, this is just how we experience death. Like, it's okay. It's part. I don't know how it seemed okay. And he even told me, he's like, wow, it just makes it more digestible or something.
That's awesome.
It helped.
That's great, because then you're able to help him too.
Yeah.
How's your mom handled all of that?
She's amazing.
Because you guys have Tav has shared his story, and now you've shared yours. Now I'm kind of curious.
I know my mom should be on here.
Yeah.
My mom's amazing, and she has no idea.
Really?
Like when I was gonna do this, she's like, "What? That's terrifying. Like, what are you gonna share?"
Man, what's your mom's name?
Julie.
Julie, let's do it.
I know.
Like, we got to have the whole perspective, because I'd be so curious, because as a mom, it was probably even more challenging in the sense of, I'd imagine she felt like she had to be strong for you guys.
Yeah.
You know? Yep. So it's like, I wonder what her healing journey looked like.
Yeah. I think she's still a lot in it. Like, I don't know if she is ready to share.
Sure. Well, because I mean, if you guys are now, it feels like you and Tavish are on the other side of healing, right? But so maybe she hasn't even been able to start yet, because you probably would want to hold on to that until you knew, like, okay, my kids are have worked through
It's
really
crazy, because so in September, before I found out about the fast, it was 25 years since the accident, and we met with the Tophams, and we did a little memorial.
Wow.
25 years, and it was crazy how much trauma and pain and suffering there still was, even in the Tophams family.
Yeah,
like so many of us.
Yeah, like, what? Even that gives me goosebumps. Yeah, even just like thinking about that,
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So there's a lot of healing.
So,
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So when you're in Costa Rica, are you like deep in a jungle? Is it like in a city center? Like
it is deep in the jungle.
Okay.
Yeah, it is deep in the jungle. They wanted it to be away from everything. They have Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
It was very.
And are you like in your own isolated tent as you're kind of just laying there all day?
So
or are you like in a group or?
Yeah, you can choose to have like a
pay extra for your own space.
To have your own space, or it was a little bit less to have a roommate. So I had a roommate.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in.
I liked it. Yeah. Okay. And then, so the hardest part for me, which is so funny, I didn't know that this would be, but was like the little creepy crawlies, like the spiders and ants and bugs. I was like, ugh. It was just rough to be around.
Because it was like open air space or what?
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, it's a different country. Like here, like, you know, the houses have seams, like closed seams on all the, but there's like cracks.
You're inside, fully inside.
Yeah. I actually went to get dressed one morning, and I like grabbed my clothes out of my closet. It was kind of like dark. Yeah. And I grabbed my clothes, and I like put my flashlight or my phone light on the counter to make sure there's nothing crawling on it, because there had been things crawling on it. And I put it down. I'm like, okay. And I go to get dressed. I take off my yesterday's shirt, and I go to grab my new shirt, and something hits my arm and thunks on the ground. And I flip on the light, and it was a scorpion, like this big, like a 4-inch black scorpion, and it came at me. It was
terrible.
like had its claws, and I was like, I had a whole meltdown.
Yeah, I'm less interested now.
But do you know what is so funny is that other people weren't bothered by them. And so I don't know. I talked to the
Interesting. That would bother me.
I talked to the owner, and he's like, your fear is just attracting them all to you.
Oh,
what
that
he
makes
said.
sense.
So I don't know. I'm like, how do I let go of the fear?
I could see that.
Okay.
So then how recently did you do your cleanse with Aaron?
So I did my cleanse with Aaron like a month after I got home from my
You did?
fast, because since I got dehydrated, I didn't get to clear out all the mucoid plaque that we were supposed to, and that's supposed to make you feel like reborn, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So then I did the cleanse with Aaron, and I felt it was harder in some ways, because when you go to the fast, like the second I walked into the fasting center, there was such a reverence, and everyone's fasting.
Yeah.
And so it's like quiet.
Life doesn't exist there.
Like, yeah. And so I was like, oh, we're just fasting. That's just what we're doing. That wasn't even a question.
Right.
I didn't ever really question if I would succeed or not. Like,
Yeah,
I knew
it's
I
not
was
like there
going
was like
to.
a plate of food out there and they're like, you have to avoid it.
And they don't cook food. They believe that cooked food is poisonous. So like you didn't have to smell food.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But then you do the fast at home and your kids are eating a burger.
Yeah,
and,
you still have to cook food for your kids. And I
that's
remember
true,
you know, buttering toast, and I'd be like, I don't know, or like even I served up cake for someone's birthday, and I was going to go lick my finger, and I'm like, oh, I can't lick my finger, you know.
Well, I remember my kid when I was doing it, Megan and I just did it again, and Cash had like Jersey Mike's, and I grabbed the sandwich and I just like smelled it, like, you know, and just like get it all in there, you know. It's so much harder.
It's so much harder. But I knew I could do it. My mom did it with me, and my older brother did it with me. So we all three got to do it together.
And Tavish has done it.
Tavish and Amy had already done it.
Oh, they already had.
Yeah,
okay.
they had already done it. And so.
Isn't it crazy what you release?
It's insane.
It's like I was going to say the craziest shit, but that's really actually what it is. But
totally.
Like what is inside of us is just
wild.
Mind blowing.
Yeah. So it felt good to get everything out. I feel like I'd worked hard doing the fast to loosen things up maybe.
Yeah,
and so
I'm sure.
That was really awesome. I actually had a really cool experience with Erin too when I did my colonic.
Oh.
Because I just did one. We just did one. I know she'll recommend him every day.
Yeah,
fast,
right. Yeah, that's expensive.
It is. So we just did one. Like I think it was on like day 8 of it.
Okay.
And of the cleanse, yeah. And me and my mom went in together, and I got there first. And I don't know. Like I just want everyone to know, disclaimer, that my experience was an anomaly. Like people don't experience what I experienced. But I had this fear going out there to do it, and I just felt like I was going to be blocked up and expanding, and I felt like I was facing death almost. It was really scary, and that's what happened. For some reason, when I had my colonic, my body wouldn't release it, so it was just building all this pressure in my belly.
Oh no!
And I was. Like,
it is the weirdest thing.
It is so weird.
Having the water go in, and that for you it didn't happen, but then releasing while it's happening, it was like I also was a little bit like, wait a minute.
Right.
This doesn't like logically, I don't know how this is going to work. That was definitely, and I thought like Megan told me we're going to do this thing. And so I thought like we're going to a hospital or something, and we're out there and she's like, oh yeah, pull in that hole in the brick wall right there. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, for sure.
What have I gotten myself into, you know?
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to cut you off. So it didn't release.
So it wasn't releasing. So I had Erin come help me, and she's so great. I've done a lot of work with Erin. I do like, I love her.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah. And she's so motherly and intuitive. And so she's like, okay, let me get you a bowl. And I just started throwing it up. It came out that way. And it was all chemical, and it tasted like pills. And that's like how I tried to take my life.
Yeah, right.
So, and I
almost like you're purging that experience.
Yeah, it was. Wow. It was like coming back to that. And she just encouraged me to cry. And she was, rattling my throat. Just let it out. So I just cried like a baby.
Oh my goodness.
Like I had not cried like that. Like I like rattled, like cried. Like,
wow.
Just all the sadness, all the pain, and
wow,
a few times. And then
that's
I had like 3 minutes left. I'm like, can we just be done? She's like, yeah. But no one's had that. And my mom ended up hearing all the
Oh, so your mom's probably
wailing.
terrified.
Yeah. And then she's like, I fell asleep. It was so relaxing, you know? And before Aaron's like, you might want your phone. You'll probably get bored. And, you know, so I think it generally is a good experience.
Interesting too, because you had those fears. So it feels like your fears for you, it can be like, if you have it,
it's going to happen.
yeah.
Oh, I think so too. I've learned like mentally a lot. I've had to do
Probably
a
a lesson for you, and like not to live in fear, because if you do, that thing that you fear,
will
find it.
manifest. Yeah, for sure. And so a lot of that I'm learning when fear creeps up to be.
And you're Reiki certified now?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. It's really cool.
How long did that process take?
So I actually got certified in 2019. I didn't really know what it was.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I still like don't do it a lot, but I feel
Do you want to do it more?
I think I want to do it as people feel called to it, because I've had some crazy beautiful experiences.
Yeah.
So and I'm grateful that I was able to help be a part of those.
Yeah, that's so
and
cool.
so I trust that there will be more of those.
So you're just letting the universe kind of just send it to you when it's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, I feel bad. We've already gone long, but this was so fascinating. It was a
thanks.
great story. I loved it. But I do got to ask you, because I can't let you leave without asking, but how do you define success?
Just loving myself through it all. I think accepting.
Loving yourself is a great answer.
Loving myself, yeah.
And no one's given that.
No. I've had to really try to learn how to believe in myself and my choices, in my path, and forgive and understand. And I love it, because now I have so much empathy and non-judgment for other people.
Yeah, that's what a great place to be. Yeah. So if someone has listened to this episode and they love it, or they want to learn more, or maybe they want to do Reiki with you, or they want to learn about the 21-day fast, like, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you? Or do you not want them to get in contact with you?
Oh, no, they totally can. I think I'm Tara Wright 47.
Is that your Instagram? Whatever it is, I'll put it in the show notes. Yeah. That's the best way to do it.
Probably Instagram is great, because I even have random people be like, hey, you did this fast. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
That's great.
Just anyone for anything. Like I'm here for it.
Well, I'm sure there's going to be people with questions who have listened to this episode.
Okay.
I think that's pretty great. Anything that you wanted to share that you didn't get the chance to share that you don't want to leave without talking about?
I don't think so. I
let it out.
I feel like I let it out. I guess my message is like, man, life is hard, and we just got to love ourselves through it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Tara, thank you for being vulnerable and transparent. And you could see the walls that you did have of like, gosh, am I honestly going to talk about this? And you did. So kudos to you. It's not easy to do.
Right.
And it's not often you get a chance to share that kind of stuff with someone you don't know. But I know that your story is going to make an impact on other people's lives. And I think, I'm sure that's what motivated you to be willing to do it.
Absolutely.
And so I hope it was a good experience for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Sure. Well, thank you, Tara. It was a pleasure. I love the story. You are absolutely a ball of energy and light. I can feel it in the room. So you're back to that child self that you wanted and who you are.
I appreciate that.